Here we are. Good evening, everybody. I'm here with Shaun Teacher, and we're going to talk about engine company operations tonight. We'll let a few more people get on. I got to extend that intro some a little bit. It takes the people a little while to get on Facebook or whatever. So anyway, we'll talk about a couple other things first. I don't know. What do you want to talk about before we get on? I had stuff and then I forgot. I'm thinking about the stuff we got going on over here. We got Pimp My Patio here tomorrow at South Greensburg Fire Department. And it's over the weekend. It'll be on our Facebook page, the South Greensburg Fire Department page. But we have that Pimp My Patio this weekend. So you can come here tomorrow night to the fire station and pre-buy items that are here or whatnot. Is there nothing coming over there? Turn the reverb down. I got to teach the tech guys how to do stuff. Is that better? If he's trying to listen to it on three things, we got all this new equipment. We're trying to figure it out. We even have a green screen behind us with this guy here. See? Huh? It's all new stuff. Shaun's real serious. You don't want to laugh or crack a smile. No, he's too serious. I don't think since I think it was the third podcast we had to go on, I had to sit next to somebody so pretty, but here we are.
Come out of makeup. Hair and makeup. That was the best part of the night.
So we got a couple more, Chuck. We're going to throw up there. Maybe we'll switch it around a little bit. But anyway, so we're going to talk about engine company operations tonight. And we have Shaun Teacher here. Everybody knows Shaun. You know his qualifications. You know how good he is and stuff. Shaun, if you don't know, he was a very young mayor in Southwest Greensburg. One of the youngest mayors till one point, even in the state, huh?
Yes, sir.
Till some point, Luke Ravensthal beat you out.
In age.
For the age, yeah. You didn't run for the Pittsburgh mayor.
That's correct.
Okay. And Shaun's a former chief at Southwest. He's also the former hazmat chief. And he does some other stuff too. He doesn't want to brag too much, but those are his qualifications. But one thing, and they're distracting. The whackers like Jerry McCracken, right?
Yes, sir.
Is it still echoing? Someone said, "Holy echo." Oh, Shipley. Well, he complains about everything. Nobody can be as perfect as Matt Shipley.
It's evening news time.
Right. I mean, we're not, what stations usually watch. I'm not going to say it on here because we're not going to get into that. But so we're going to talk about, for responsible to engine. Of course, short engines anymore. Shaun's sitting here looking at his hurt feelings report.
Just in case comments, I picked one off.
He found one here at South Greensburg. We have them if you'd like to fill one out. They've been filled out a couple of times. Usually my name's at the bottom of there.
I got it pre-filled out. Okay. Made copies. I'm ready.
So anyway, engine company operations. That's our bread and butter in this area, really. I mean, we have the trucks and all that too, but for us, it's engine work and a lot of engine work, with what you're doing over this way. I think a lot of times things go okay, but sometimes we miss the small stuff. And talk about a little bit about what really are the responsibilities of the first due engine, the crew that's on there, and we got to keep in mind sometimes there's only 2 people, 3 people maybe on that engine, where they have to pick up and what their responsibilities are as they arrive.
Well, let's go basic to the operation of the engine company. Put water on the fire. I mean, everybody tries to make it so sophisticated and so many talents and so many options, but you put wet stuff on the red stuff.
Right.
So that's the basic concept. However, the engine company has to perform all functions until they get somebody there, just like the incident commander, all functions until you get somebody there to take that role. So the engine pulls from the scene. Obviously, they got a life priority. That's our number one. So it could be setting a ground ladder. It could be forcing a door. It could be search and rescue. Life safety is the priority. We'll get into the short staffed in a little bit, but besides putting water on the fire, that crew needs to be trained for everything.
Everything.
So if you have just drivers, which, some people may be against, or they may say that it's a Band-Aid, having, paid drive, but that driver is just not a driver.
Well, first, there's good and bad to everything, right? Is it a good thing? It is for now because we're getting equipment to the scene.
Right. And you got to adapt it for your community. There's no one size fits all. There's many ways to get to the end game. We're all here to do the same thing, and it's save property, save lives, and reduce damage. Again, back to the engine company responsibility is pull on scene, leave room for the truck. That's new for me. I used to block them out. We didn't need those, and that changed.
We really did. There was no such thing as a truck up front back in the 90s and that. And
no,
now it's a real thing.
Yeah, and I get sensitive now when you block me out. So
okay, right.
Yeah. Remember, you park that vehicle or position that vehicle.
Right, park it or position.
Yeah. So starts with a size up, and again, it's the team. But with a size up on arrival, don't need to get technical. What type of building construction or anything. Basically, what do you have? And the fully involved isn't it. Fully involved to me means we're going to stand outside and protect the exposures.
Every opening, right?
Right.
You have fire come out every opening.
No livable space to me is fully involved. Besides that, you got room and content. You got, smoke showing, nothing showing from whatever sides, and then position the apparatus out of the way of the ladder truck. And then from there, because if you're first on scene, you have to do all the responsibilities. So the 360 is essential, even with a short crew. If I pull on scene as my current role and I'm by myself, that 360 has got to take place. So
right.
360, and then once the 360 is done, if I have a life priority at that point, that becomes the first step. If it's stretching a line to the door and getting it ready, that's it. But you have to be ready to go for anything that you see on that 360. And the role is putting wet stuff on the red stuff. So force the door, make entry, quick search if you can, and get yourself a water supply. One of the most I can't say known things, but as a driver to understand the capabilities of what they're bringing. For example, the ladder truck that we talked about before, they come in, they got 350 gallons of water. You have to make that 350 gallons of water work when they take the engine roll.
Right.
Your engine, if you're a city engine, 500 gallons, or 750, you got to understand what the capabilities of that engine are. And there's a big controversy going on now, whether you lay in first due or whether you let the second lay in or third lay in or whatever. And it depends on your municipality and how you set it up.
But we beat ourselves up over that too, and some because of sometimes it seems had been trouble getting a line laid.
Absolutely.
Hey, you get it. Hey, you get it. Hey, you get it. And it just snowballs down the road. But, and of course, if there's entrapment, we're going to go straight in, but if hey, there's nothing exposed, it's not blowing out windows, maybe we can drop our own line and in the boroughs and that, we're fortunate they're not that far.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the borough across the street, there's only 2 intersections in the entire borough. They don't have a hydrant.
Right.
So most of those incidents, that driver could honestly backlay themselves.
And we are fortunate where we are right here because, and even over there, we have an engine and truck pretty close, and even a second engine out of the city usually getting here pretty fast, hitting into our town or over into that town or us coming that way too. So we are fortunate with engine truck arriving fairly together, a little bit behind each other either way sometimes. So we are fortunate about to have the truck guys there to do truck work and the engine guys to do the engine work. And we're talking about engine stuff. So I just,
Well, and that's another big controversy is the first due. So you look at the quints around here, when it pulls on scene, it has to understand what it is. A lot of the funny thing is it's a hybrid. It doesn't understand what it falls into, what class. We'll just keep it clean so we don't hurt anybody's feelings. But
of course.
And then when it arrives, obviously it has to do the priority function. So life safety is still number one. If that's search and rescue, if it's no search and rescue and they're stretching a line, then it becomes an engine but it's always set in the truck position. So the next dude can take care of those truck rolls off of that quint. But on the engine side, you got to be prepared. You got to understand the capabilities of your apparatus. And that's the biggest thing for engine work. And it's not just the driver, it's the crew.
And Shell, you make a good point. That you're right. That could be done too. We'll drop the line on the street. Next crew up can, next engine pulls in, they can make the connection.
Absolutely. And again, there's not a one size fits all for this. Even communities different. There's a lot of communities that don't allow any of the members to drive to the scene. There's communities that allow members to drive the scene. My buddy Shaun, for example, and Jeanette, it's worked for them. So why would you, talk bad against that operation if it works for you?
And it's a matter of how can you trust your people? Are they parking in the middle of the street in front of the fire? Or are they parking, in a parking space? Or
it's definitely a discipline, and it doesn't have to be just a firefighter. It can be the chief officers.
Some guy with stickers on there usually parks in somebody's yard somewhere, finds his nearest yard, right?
Has command on the front of it. Yeah. And again,
the nearest yard.
That person in the short staff side of it may become my operator.
Right.
So they're needed too. But every municipality and every incident is different. There's not a SOG or SOP that you can pick up that says you got to follow this every time.
It's always different, especially with what we don't know who we have and what we have. And even I know, and people will do seat assignments. You don't assign them to a person. You assign that seat jobs.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that Billy and I argued at when he wanted to implement it. I didn't agree with it. I said it won't work in the volunteer fire service. And I ate my words because it takes the responsibility off that officer and the driver to have the crew not have to turn around and say, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this.
Right. So if you park your ass in this seat, you're doing this. You better know what you're doing if you're going to sit in that seat.
And they're filled in order.
Right.
So obviously if I have just driver,
you
just
driver start picking up a few roles, right?
Right?
And then if you just have that and an officer, and we started doing it. So the driver drives the truck, obviously operates the truck. That what should be his role. And you normally have an officer in there. That officer now may not only is his job to grab the tick, and be ready to go and have his tool in his hand. Now he may have to take the can with him too, or whatever, and sometimes you really know if you need to take a nozzle to the door right away, or maybe, we can get away with the can. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And again, every incident's going to be different.
Right.
You have somebody on scene, chief officer, somebody reliable on scene that says, hey, it's fully involved. And I know my capabilities of the engine is 500 gallons, 1 3/4 line.
Right. Hold on. Go ahead. You talk.
No, we're good. You're restricted down to what? Take your 500 gallons, divide it by 150 gallons a minute for that device, and you got 3.5 minutes or whatever you need. If we pull in and we're going to pull the 2.5, you got to take the 2.5, 250 gallons a minute, just a rough estimate, and your 500 gallons of water. You're down to a little over a minute by the time you fill the hose.
Right.
You pull in and you want to do the deck gun hit because we need to put it in check quick. You're going to have less than a minute of water, but you got to be effective with it.
You're right. So, okay. So, some of that is the first new engine. There's a ton of responsibilities, especially like I said, we're pretty fortunate here. We have another truck coming, either a truck or another engine getting there, where there's more manpower on there. And we also I do allow certain people to drive to the scene. They usually have gear in their car. I leave work during the day sometimes.
It's a discipline.
If it's a fire, there's a couple other ones that can get out of there if it's an actual fire and whatnot. So, and my retired guys that drive know they can look at the screen and say, oh, they're going, just get the engine on the road. We'll see you there.
Absolutely.
And that works for us. In some places that might not work, but it works for us. And then, the biggest thing, like you said, is life. So are we just taking a can and going with tolls and searching? And you might be a one-guy operation. You pull up, hey, my baby's in there, my child's in there, my wife's in there.
It's probably one of those ones where the can's not coming at first. I'm taking the 24-foot ladder by myself, pulling in, and you're setting the 24-foot ladder, you're making a vent enter search, you're putting the ladder for the occupant to make themselves out, or if it's a first floor, you're opening the opening and you're going to go in and do a search. You know, would I love the can to be there, but it's something that might slow me down.
And there's something when we didn't even talk about it, I didn't even think about it, but we touched on is VES, VEIS, whatever you want to call it. We overlook that a lot.
Absolutely. First due engine, again, has to fill all the roles until somebody, just like the first arriving officer, first arriving person, they got to fill all the roles until they're assigned to somebody else. So that life safety or VEIS, whatever you want to call it, is it needs to be done. I mean, I can remember a fire that I happened to come upon in a municipality that will remain unnamed that had an entrapment call. And when I arrived, the first due apparatus was a tanker with no ladder on it. Myself and the neighbor saw the occupant in the second floor window go back in. You know, from then on, I carried a 14-foot collapsible ladder in my personal vehicle because I never wanted to be in that position. So when you talk about the vent enter search, it comes back to that thing is everybody, even the engine crew, has to be capable of performing.
Okay, and along with that is too, sometimes, and this is everybody, and it's happened probably to most people at one time or another. You pull up, fires blowing out the front of the house and a couple windows, that's what we're focused on. We're not focused on around the back where there's a bedroom or even the kitchen, somebody passed out in the kitchen.
The tunnel vision.
There's the fire. Let's go get the fire, and then everything else comes secondary.
Again, it comes down to your department. You know, we have quick, fast people that get off the apparatus, their face piece on, like or don't like it, or believe in it or not believe in it. That gives you the tunnel vision. You know, if I have a full crew and that crew's only assignment is going in for that search or going in on that line, okay, but that 360 needs to take place. You know,
Has to.
Incident the other day where a chief was first on scene of a working fire with entrapment, and I would have never imagined this chief going in. The chief, when his engine arrived, driver only, put a mask on and went in. Unfortunately, what suffered in that incident is the operations then. All the apparatus come in and bottlenecked in, you know, and it ended up the occupant was on the back deck.
But, okay, with that then, I mean, you're bringing up whole other matters that come along with these things, right? They go on all the time. Sometimes when we're in the other apparatus behind the first due and we're listening to the big squawky thing on the dashboard, okay, there's an engine there. Someone's not talking, something's going on. Maybe we should lay a line.
Absolutely.
Or maybe we should do this, or maybe we better get people there to help him now, or whatever it is. But it's every time orders. And that's good. It's not terrible.
And honestly, it's because of this. Too many times does somebody come in and do something that they weren't told to do, or they requested it and didn't get anything back, so we didn't pick up the plug.
And hell, I'm guilty of most of this stuff, even myself.
And you yell at me, you know?
Yeah, I yell. I
You
yell.
yell at me.
I don't yell anymore. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I don't yell anymore. I have no sugar in me or anything, and I'm all happy as can be.
But that's the problem. Then it gets
What? I took over the sugar?
No.
Oh,
It gets to hurt feelings.
yes.
So
it does.
instead of us handling that incident, meeting after the fact, and working through it for the next time, everybody has a grudge or hurt feelings, and then we don't expand that. So that incident, I was laying in bed at a fire station staffing, listening to that fire where the chief went in, and I wanted to get on the radio. And you wanted to say, the next due engine, obviously, what do you need to take?
Yeah,
You need to take charge.
We should know this by now.
It shouldn't be, you know, obviously myself that's making that call. A lot of times 911 steps in. You know, the
They do.
dispatcher, most of them are knowledgeable enough to say, and the chief, again, probably should have got on the radio and said, hey, I'm going interior.
Next due engine, grab a hydrant.
Or somebody
We left
take
room for
this.
the truck
Right.
in the front.
His operator was working on a water supply across the street, so he wasn't talking on the radio.
And honestly, on a normal residence, 2 engines in a truck, and you're in pretty decent shape to get operations underway the majority of the time.
Absolutely. And the problem with us here in this area is we bottleneck everything. You know, we commit 6 engines and 2 ladder trucks to an incident that's an engine and a ladder truck, or 2 engines and a ladder truck call. We put them all on the block. So
On the block, right.
On the block. So now we're moving standbys. And I'm not saying to send them home, but make sure that they're in a place where they can get out and available.
Right. You'll hear it sometimes, and that, hey, we get the operation apparatus on the block, and then everybody else stays on this street and this street, and send your manpower up. Because a lot of times then like the third and fourth due, or fourth, fifth due apparatus is just a people mover at that point.
Still requesting orders.
Right.
After you instructed them.
Everybody else just park your apparatus, bring your manpower to the
Park
front
it
of whatever.
available. Yeah, park it available. Don't block up the street. You know, I don't care if you're half a block away. Park it available and send your personnel.
Yeah, give your personnel the front of the structure, and that should be the end of it. But it still continues, and I think when you're in the truck calling for orders, you're not thinking about the people who are inside, maybe trying to get out. And there's been times where I start keying the radio, and I just want to throw the thing out the window because it's useless to me at that point, and we may need something.
And it may be more beneficial for you at that point to switch back over, and at least in our area, to the command channel and call on scene, you know, so that they logged you on scene. They have a record that you're on scene, but then you walk face to face with the incident commander because they're like, oh, if I don't call on scene, you don't know I'm here. When you come up and talk to me in the front of the building, I'm going to know you're here.
Right. And these are things that'll still plague us to, you know, and we talked about when Gene Good was here about that, the radio business and all that. And, you know, every lieutenant calling in and chief and assistant chief. And, you know, and like I said, if it's your area, let the incident commander call in service. And then that way they'll get an update or whatever's going on. And he can get his hydrant locations even before arriving and then go about your business. But, you know, if the fire's here and you're 3 municipalities away calling yourself in service, you're a chief, nobody really cares.
It's not my incident and you're a line officer.
And it's not a piece of apparatus I'm waiting for. I really don't give a damn if you're coming or not. Just give me the truck there or some people.
And when you talk to people, they go back to it's a liability thing. I got to make sure that they know it so that if something happens to me, that it's it doesn't matter whether that transmission took place or not. I mean, today with our apps, if you put in service in the app, that should be sufficient enough for you.
Right. And I can see that, of course, my people, and I'm enough to look, oh, okay, they're going to get the truck. I don't have to come over here, get the truck. I can go and do whatever I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
And do whatever stuff.
But back to, and only because we're on the engine company, but back to the first due stuff, I really got an exposure to it now. At Southwest, I was spoiled that we had 2 or 3 people responding. Now, unfortunately, in the daytime, we're, as some people say, putting a Band-Aid on a gun wound, I think is the comment. But you know, on a gunshot wound, we're maintaining somebody's in service. But when you arrive and you get there, you are the short-staffed engine crew. So as we started talking about being prepared, is you have to have the apparatus and the equipment laid out for you every day at the beginning of the shift, just like you would do at a career department.
Right. I'm reading this here. There's a couple of things, and we're getting more. This is a lot of stuff, and I'm not ignoring what you guys are saying, but this one here, these joint operating guidelines. Was that you sent me something about that the other day? No, or was Callisti? Somebody sent me something about this joint operating guidelines the other day. That's all well and good in theory, but try to get some of the egos involved in that, and it becomes a real issue.
No, absolutely.
And I'm not saying here, you know, I mean, I could certainly across the way over here, it's not a problem. He and I could sit down and a couple people over there and a couple people here could get something figured out a little bit better. And I think the operations works well there anyway to begin with. But that is a real issue in some areas.
Most certainly. And I think the consolidation is going to start helping with that. I think it's going to take, for example, 12 independent people that had their own thing and bring them under one. And hopefully that 12 now can come and talk to the 2 other ones beside them. Instead of having 16, we're down to 2 or 3. It's still going to be tough because everybody wants their own way and their own thing. But when I come to your house, we need to follow your rules.
Yeah, right. No, there's no doubt about that. You know, and everybody wants that. You know, I don't expect to go over here and not follow their rules, or you come here and not follow. But at the same time, they should be about the same thing.
End game. We're here for what?
Right. Why are we
Life
here?
Safety number 1, property conservation number 2.
You know, and that is the thing, and we all forget it because it's our kingdom. It's going to be our way or no way, and and like I said, I'm just as guilty as everybody else, and we all are at times. But that's a real issue, and that was part of why we started this, to maybe get some of the conversation going and different things. And some people just don't want to chime in because they don't want to put their name to certain things and do whatever. But that's the real problem we're getting down to.
Well, and it comes back to social media is horrible. You know, it's great for learning and it's great for getting it, but social media is horrible because if I feel, and it just happened to a fellow instructor, I feel I want to make a statement out there, a comment, maybe it benefits you, maybe it benefits somebody else, that should be it. Instead, we give 15 negative comments back to it. Instead of accepting that idea, and maybe it doesn't work in my municipality, fine. You know, I'm not a fan, and I argued with my supervisor currently. I argue with him about that first due engine dropping for every reported fire. You know, if I do that, you know, whose word am I taking? Again, it comes back to that fully involved fire. One, I slowed down. I stopped at it's seconds, but I stopped at the intersection and dropped the line where I could have went straight in. The other thing is I take that risk because I don't have enough personnel to follow me to push that hose off the road of blocking somebody else out on the end. You know, my thing is get somebody there, an apparatus in front. You know, obviously, if it's fully involved and I got a chief there that says there's fire out of every opening, my 500 gallons of 750 isn't going to do it.
Right.
That's different. But 90% of the time, I should get that first due there. I can make a 3-minute hit, 150 gallons a minute, 500 gallons of water, 3.5 minutes. I can put a fire in check, protect an exposure. I got capabilities. Now, that may not work in a neighboring municipality where their next due engine's 10, 15 minutes away.
Right. Or there's no hydrants, we're waiting on a tanker.
And if it's
whatever.
during the daytime and I'm the short-staffed engine and I got a working fire and I don't hear anybody else calling a service and nobody bid it, and we'll get onto that conversation later, maybe I'm dropping the line because 3 minutes, I'm done. You know, you have to, every incident's not the same.
Right.
And we don't have the staffing in this municipality, in this current area, geographic area, to drop a line on every reported fire. I don't have the people.
I mean, you know, but there's another thing. Who's listening? And okay, well, engine 32 is in service and no one else is. Well, we better drop the line.
Right.
Because no one else is coming.
And it might be that day.
But, you know, engine 32, engine 8's in service, engine 500 come out of nowhere and just happens to be on a hydrant or whatever. But it happens sometimes, right? And, but that's when, okay, well, engine 8's going to be right behind us. So let's just let them get the hydrant. We'll go straight in at the same amount of minutes, you know?
Is that Josh's comment there?
No, Josh.
Oh,
this
that's
is
Bruce. Yeah. So there again, and that's exactly right. But the problem with that is, and Bruce's comment is that everybody needs to think for themselves. It is great, but the problem is somebody doesn't agree with what you did. So they holler at you. Now I have hurt feelings. Well, instead of, you know what, you were right. Here's why I did it, but I understand that you don't want to do that in your place.
One way or another, there's going to be hollering on a fire ground. I mean, it's sometimes you just have to go around the block and, you know, around the house and it's gone. It's over. You know what I mean?
We need to act like that fire scene is sand.
And for me, it's over, right?
We put the issue in the sand.
Right, and leave it there.
And then when the call's over, we take and wipe down the sand and it's over.
And we can figure it out.
That's exactly
and
right.
And, you know, I'm one to just, it happened. I forget it even happened. You know what I mean? Hey, look, you know, whatever the stuff gets said, and then I'm done with it. You know, but you know, some we got to just drag it on for years. But so then we have short-staffed engines, right? That's becoming a big issue.
So again, I think it's important to understand the difference between a driver only and a short-staffed engine or a crew.
You're right, Michael, about that.
Because the problem is we're lumping every scenario into the driver only.
Right.
I can tell you that I'm confident in myself, not bragging, but I'm confident in myself that I could pull on scene of a room and contents incident, complete a search, stretch the line, and put that fire out. Might not be the most efficient, but I can do that. I could set a 24-foot ladder to the second story window and get somebody out if need be. You know, again, but I also am very aware that there's drivers that are coming to the scene that have no intent to put a mask on.
No, they're there to pump the truck.
And that's fine, but you and your community have to have the plan. Like you, if I have a driver driving engine 32 today and he's coming to the scene, he knows that I'm behind him, as you as a chief.
Right.
You're coming to the scene
or someone
that's going to perform the functions. Right. And I think that's the problem.
And we've talked even with our drivers that have no intention of or engineers, or however we want to term them, because we don't want drivers. We want engineers, people that can operate the truck and place it and all that stuff. But just, can you throw a roof ladder to the porch roof? Can you we're coming, can you stretch the line off the bumper to the door and just have it waiting there? Couple tools laying there. A junior fireman, for Christ's sake, can get a tool off a truck and lay it by the front door. Or lay it in the area of the door.
Incident across the state lines, as soon as that come out with the fatality of the adult and the child, one of the things I did in a department is I went back to, that I belong to in Indiana, is went back to all the just drivers that are older people that we need to get the apparatus out the door, is if you pull on scene and this is what you had, are you capable of taking the little giant and getting it to the window? The occupant may come out themselves,
Right.
But you have to have that plan. You can't just put that and say, well, we're good. We acknowledged we got something on scene.
So, and equipment wise, like, and tools and stuff, and Brian's right about what he's saying there. He's exactly 100% right about that. 2 guys, 1 guy, 3 guys, maybe better than 15 guys, a truckload of people from somewhere, and they're just, useless.
Absolutely. Ideally, I'd love a fully paid staff department, where I knew the people I was working with every day.
That'd be great.
We all had our job assignments and we rode to the calls together every time, and we
Right.
did the same functions, but that doesn't happen. So we have to adapt and overcome it, but we have to have a plan. We can't just continue to do the same thing over and over again and
expect
not
it
provide
differently.
the service
Right.
that our public thinks we're providing.
Right.
It's going to come back to bite us. I think this one across the state line is going to be huge in the end. Huge. I think it's going to put a lot of reality on the service. We'll talk about it after. I don't like to put anybody out there.
Right. So, okay, so we're getting there, getting the people out to try. And the first and most important thing, we have to get that 360 in. And I hear we had an incident one time, and that we were involved in, and it was, there's no car in the driveway, so I don't think anybody's home. That just doesn't fly.
Nope.
It's just not going to fly.
Occupiable space, it needs to be
Heavy
searched.
fire in most of the residents, but not in part of it.
Occupiable space needs to be searched.
It's just a matter of, that thing we overlook is putting a ladder to the window and poking in there real quick, in and out. One room, in and out.
We can go back to the second incident in my life that said a big thing of me is another call that I just came up on that, we talk about closing the doors. And I think most of our fire prevention or fire safety in our communities need to be put back into the homeowners. I mean, if working smoke detectors, the fire safety plan that we cover at school with the kids, we need to beat on that and continue. Do something in your community to have them get involvement. Send it back to you for review, because they're the first step. The occupant or the homeowner is going to save themselves or save their kids before we'll ever get on scene. And I think that's where it comes back to that livable space. If they just shut the bedroom door, I mean, this incident, the room that we've been in or searched was beautiful white walls.
Right.
You opened the hallway door, the deceased individual was right to the left.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate. And if it had made it into the bedroom instead of in the bathroom.
2 in the last couple doors have been right near an open door. Right near an open door.
Absolutely.
In that room, shut the door, and you be good. You got time.
Just need to educate.
And then that's the other thing. Were you educating people enough? And another problem with a lot of residents we go into are the conditions inside these residences.
Absolutely. The
We're
hoarding
putting
conditions.
ourselves in danger, going through all that, and it happens more often than not anymore. A lot of these fires we go to, the hoarding conditions are just, and not even the hoarding conditions. People just have too much shit.
Yep. That, and we're not doing ourselves any service at the non-structural incidents. You go to a gas call, you go to a CA call, we go to a medical call. That's the time where you walk through and we're like, you don't have any smoke detectors in here. Well, you're not here for that. You're here for the odor of natural gas. Yes, but I might be here in the future for that. That's the time you do it, along with your public safety, whatever you're doing. The other incidents, the non-structural incidents, is where we get the eyes and we can educate.
We were on a vehicle accident the other day, and I happened to notice this house there And Jared was there with me, and I said, Jared, look at this house here. It don't look good, and things don't. Well, there was no gas meter and no electric meter on the one side. I said, oh, maybe this place is unoccupied. Well, I went around the back where there was an electric meter and a gas meter on the other side of the house. And somebody was actually living there. And now because at first I said, well, we're not going to do shit with this, but put water on it because we're not getting our people involved in this the way the structure looks. And then I said, holy shit, we got, this is over here. We're going to have to go in here and see if anybody's in there.
Absolutely.
We're going to have to make the attempt. And Shell, you're right about that. And I've seen that, it goes around, and I think I've seen you said it before. And we were talked about that with the VES, VEIS, whatever we want to call it, that doesn't cross our mind a lot of times. It really doesn't. You pull up, oh, there's the fire in the front window. And hell, down here, well, we knew the occupant was out. I asked 911 on the way, anything on occupants, they said all out. And they were met by the guy at the front. He had been trying to put the fire out, got burned a little bit, nothing crazy. But and the hose line went in the front door. Hey, I think I was knocked down. And at the front door, it kind of looked like it. Well, then when I went around the side, it kind of didn't look like it. And then when it started getting opened up, well, there's a fire in the basement, just come out of nowhere. And then we had so much fire load in that basement, and we just said we weren't going to blame it on the temperature because of how bad the weather conditions were, or bad weather conditions. There were a lot of factors playing against us, but the load in that basement and the type of load that was in there, just we were probably beat before we, even arrived. And sometimes that, we lost before we got there.
And I'll give you a caution. And again, it's only because of experience. Everything that we're talking about tonight, or that I spew out, whether I'm teaching or whether I'm here, is because it's in the Rolodex up here. Believe me, it's full, right. And I can't remember anything else. But the occupant's out, or the confirmed from 911. Just think about that incident the other night at 2:30 in the morning. I believe, and I'd have to go back and listen to a tape, but I believe that 911 said the occupant's out of the house. Well, then when the chief arrived, the occupant went back to get the dog.
Right.
So you can't always take the word of that. And the other one is the multifamily. So they relayed the information back even to a neighbor that everybody's out, and then you find out that it's the duplex, or like the one you're talking about that's got the no meter in the front but in the back.
Right.
So then the front says, yeah, we're all out. But unfortunately, the backside.
Right. Now there's a whole another problem there.
Absolutely.
And Alex, you're right about that. We were talking about this the other day about the school. When we were in school, Clyde Snyder, Scott Hurst, whoever it was, came to the school once a month, I think it was, or once a quarter at least, and talked about fire safety.
Yeah, we do it October, Fire Safety Month.
Yeah, we go around fire safety, take pictures of our trucks. That's one time a year they get out of the garage, and we say, oh, look, we went out to do this, and you'll never see us again this year, but here we are at fire safety. But that's all.
And you rush because you try and do all the classes
everything right
in one day. So the kids are looking at fire trucks. They're in there talking about smoke detectors for 2 seconds.
Right.
And then it needs to be an all hands approach.
And like I said, we used to do that. It was once a quarter, once a month. I can't remember, but over at Ludwig Elementary, me and Josh and them guys. But
I wanted to put that picture up. We didn't bring it tonight. Josh in the background.
But next time. But we don't do that anymore. And it hurts us on recruiting too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, some of the child labor and not getting the individuals at 14 to 15 are not allowed to ride in the fire trucks. And again, we don't want how's they say, you're saving the fire service by the backs of our children. That's not the plan.
No.
But if I don't get the interest from that child or that young adult,
right,
or young person before they turn 16, when they turn 16 and a half and have their driver's license, the fire hall is the last place they want to hang out. I mean, unless you're me. I lived there.
Do you?
Lived there. That's how I grew up there, buddy.
Oh, yeah, of course. But, yeah, I mean, domestics are another matter.
Well, while we're talking about that, I mean, we can go to Sam Bray or the Irwin. I mean, they got 2 young kids that are coming up through, like most of us do with our kids, and hopefully they're going to be in the fire service. But if you don't capture them young, you're not going to capture them.
And that seems just to be the interest there, though. And that's not, this is the whole nother thing, but it's already members' kids. It's not the other kids in the fire service or just in the community. getting them into the fire service.
Right.
And these are things that'll plague us going forward. We're not going to fix that here. I'm just sorry.
No, but we started off on the engine company stuff, and
We
we
did.
venture down rabbit holes all the time.
Every time in the firehouse, it don't matter. We get away off of
41 minutes of venturing down the problems of the fire service.
Yeah.
But back to the engine company stuff, only because that's the topic.
That was
and
the
if somebody
idea, right.
tuned in here tonight. If we can take anything out of here, again, this isn't an engine company class, but that just driver, that operator, and the entire crew needs to understand the capabilities of your engine. You need to understand the weapons that are on the engine. What line am I pulling for this size of fire? The easiest in pump class or whatever else, we're not going to get into that, is length times width divided by 3, and that's your fire flow. So a 10 by 10 room, 33 gallons a minute. If you think about a fire chief that's no longer with us, everybody made fun of their first line off was what? The booster line, right? Oh, it's unsafe. They're going to kill people. If it worked in that community, then it's fine, right? We allow people to go in there with 2.5 gallons of water.
Yeah.
They at least have a 60, 80 to 100 gallon a minute booster line to put out the 33 gallon a minute fire in a room of contents fire. Now, I'm not saying I'm a promoter of that, but you have to adapt, like we started at the beginning here, for your community, your operations.
But these things just go to these things, and I think about them, and they sometimes keep me up at night. When we pull into a fire, right? You got guys. Say you got a decent crew on the truck. Nighttime, you got 4 guys and 2 guys, and just 2 guys in the back, 2 up front, officer and driver, operator, and the 2 guys in the back.
It's a great day.
Why doesn't the officer jump off with his tool and a stick, hit the door with a can, and go to it? Everybody's out. You meet the residents in the front. Everybody's out. Just hit it with the can until the line gets in there.
And if
and this is not coming out of every opening. Oh, look, it's venting out of the corner there. It's just a one-room fire, it appears to be.
And unfortunately, the goal of that officer, once you allow that to happen, is to go and put the fire out before the crew gets over the hose line. But the actual goal of the officer should be the 360, meet the occupant, the search.
Right.
If they come about the fire.
In our perfect world, when the chief's not there first.
Right. Pull the door shut, save the can, If you want to dump the can, great, but I can move faster without dumping the can and search more of the area. But it's isolating.
I mean, and there's a million ways to go at it. And I think we just overlook a lot of it. Now Brian, that'd be great if we could do that.
Absolutely.
And I think it's been, there was something tried to get going here in our school district, and it just fell off. It was going around a little while, emails between we have multiple municipalities that go to our school, to Greensburg, Salem.
And it comes down to funding. The program that you used to have was funded.
Right.
Now the program's not funded. So we don't have that that educator person that's allowed in the school. I'm not saying you're not allowed in the school, but.
Well, this is a whole nother matter too, but right. I'm allowed in the school.
Oh, now?
Yeah, I was always allowed in school. I wasn't allowed in school when I was in school. After school, I was allowed. Usually I wasn't allowed. When I was there, they didn't allow me there, but I got you. Everything's okay now. I can go. But yeah, I mean, we try to get, we have Salem Township companies, city, 2 boroughs that are all one school district. And we don't go to school at all. We go to our daycares here and we don't go.
No consistent program.
Right. There's nothing that's there to follow along with the education, number one, and then getting people. But that sounds like they have a decent program going down there, and we just don't do those things.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate.
I didn't scroll through. Is there anything else that we want to?
I don't think.
I don't want to leave anybody untapped.
No, we don't want no reports coming in.
Yeah, I'll have to fill it
They'll
out.
be filing them on you.
That's fine. And I'm available. Again, I appreciate, you bringing me in to talk about engine company stuff. That's where I started. That's basically, I love the work. I love that. I mean, truck's good. I'm not going to turn down any truck work.
You like the engine though? You like the engine better?
I like whatever's got fire involved.
Oh.
Could be on a roof, could be in an attic, could be on a hose line, whatever.
But seriously,
what's that?
Thoughts on high pressure fog?
Again, Matt, I'm not bashing anybody because in some areas it may work for you. You know, you're short on water supply, just like putting foam into the water for fire suppression. It's a surfactant, right? So, I mean, does it minimize the amount of water use? If I'm shorthanded, it's got its place. It's
Tools
not
in the toolbox.
It's
right?
a tool in the toolbox.
Well, while we're talking about that, we'll talk about another new thing that's out, and people are starting to pick them up. And I actually ordered one. These new hen nozzles.
Okay.
Have you used them?
I have not.
Have you seen them?
I have.
I mean,
seen
watching
it.
the videos
Yes,
and
I have.
whatnot.
I think Scottsdale has them in service.
They do.
And
I'm pretty sure Youngwood's getting them.
And again, I have no problem with the tool in the toolbox, but are we proficient putting the fire out before we add another device? And I'm not saying you or them or anybody, but you know, tank
Got water.
He can get water there.
Got water.
Jeremy, bring us water. But I have nothing against him. If it's a tool in the toolbox and it works for your department, that's fine. But what happens a lot of times is the trending thing. You know, FDNY does it, so I have to do it. You know, this instructor that's well known said it, so it's gospel. Well, let's get the basics down. And if I have the basics down and we understand the concept and we want to try a new tool in the toolbox, let's pull it out and try it. Now, would I go out and buy a nozzle for every device in my apparatus first? Probably not, until we prove that we can use it and it makes sense.
Brian, you coming up? Make your way north?
Absolutely.
That'd be something, huh? We don't send transportation. You have to provide your own.
They do have good makeup, though.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why they had me lay in the coffin over there to get my makeup done, but we won't talk about
We
that.
use the mortician makeup.
We won't talk about that.
But so I was down at the show thing, and we had talked about it and looking at them. And I was down there, and I thought, you know what, might as well just. And I only bought the end. You know, we have breakaway nozzles now. We switched to breakaways, so I could just screw it on the end of there, and I was going to put it on a trash line on the truck.
Hey, if you go back and I'm sure, you know, the biggest fan, as he said, I actually wore the shirt for him today. You know, he said he was my biggest fan, took off work today. But if you talk to him, that nozzle was around many years ago. Brett.
Okay.
Yeah, that nozzle was around many years ago. And again,
no limo.
Huh?
No limo.
No limo.
Not yet. Maybe in a year or two.
Brian, I'll come down and pick you up and bring you back.
But Matt, the trendy gimmick, yeah. But you know, it looks cool, right? When you watch the video of it, it looks cool. But is it going to be effective?
Just like the EV blankets, you know.
Well, I looked at one of those, and I wasn't really.
Well, you talk about the EV blanket; it has its place. Parking lot with a car that we have exposures. Parking garage, we have exposures. Burning in the middle of nothing around it. I don't know. Maybe until we get water there.
It's not putting the fire out. Let's just start right there.
It's got its place. It's
when I saw it, it was on a car full of hay, and it didn't even put that out. I mean, as you applied water to it and you put a thermal camera on it, you can see the heat building back in there again. Yeah, right. Can we put it over the car to protect other vehicles or pull it out?
Yeah, parking structure,
bridge vehicles on that. I mean, that's a whole nother. We could get into that.
It's engine company work.
Yeah, it is. It is, and you know, we've talked about that.
Again, Rob, just like he talked about that nozzle, I can't give you any testimonials on them. I have not used them. I've seen them. Again, if it works, great. Man, too many words.
Yeah, that's a lot of reading for us. Remember, we're volunteer firemen. We have a hard time reading. That's a lot of stuff right there, Noah. You figure that out. What's going on there? 25% of victims are found searching off the line. 3% of rescues were made after, and everyone report is out. Well, we said there's always that.
Well, and let's go back to that. You said about on the line. So I saw a department post the other day about training younger members, and I was guilty of it myself when I started teaching, is the search or the hose line, where we take the hose line in the building and there's 4 people on the hose line and you don't take your hand off the hose line. You know, you're 4 little ants going in the room, 4 little ants coming out of the room. Same thing with the search, you know, hold the wall. Technology today, it's a tools, but we need to be quicker. You know,
yes.
4 of us don't need to be in the same pattern.
No, and it's a sense of safety, right? When you're on the hose line, because where's it lead to? Back to the truck.
There's too many times that I go to a fire and I have a younger crew that comes in, no smoke, and they're on their hands and knees. You know, you laugh, but we beat it into them. You know, it's the condition, but unfortunately, we have to say it's the condition is a condition. You know, just like the PPE thing. You know, you need to have all your PPE on all the time. My PPE is dictated by the condition I'm approached with, right?
Sometimes it's not always easy. It's easier said than done. Sometimes.
Absolutely.
And I'm too damn old to be getting down on my hands and knees because I'm probably not getting back up. I'm gonna have to come down and roll down the front steps, and someone's got to help me up outside. So
They sell
a good one on TikTok. You want to know about the head nozzle with the pistol grip?
okay, well, okay, listen.
we're not
Did
marketing.
you put that up there?
We're not marketing or selling any device.
Yeah, we're not selling anything, but
Again,
the problem is and we talked about it, you can't talk to people sometimes. Okay, I'm not going to offend anybody. I'm just going to say it. I don't like those pistol grips at all. I took them off every one of my nozzles. I think they hamper you. I think they get caught on stuff. I think they get in your road. And with the way we use nozzles now, and what do we set our trucks up for? Hey, one person's going to be on this hand line, right? So now I have a 50 PSI nozzle, 160 gallon a minute on some of my lines so that one guy can pull that and one guy can handle that line.
they have their place, and if your tactics or you practice with it and it works for you, that's fine. But in my experience, again, I'm not beating on anybody, but the pistol grip brings them back to holding the nozzle.
Yeah, right in here and right.
They have no room to maneuver the nozzle or use it.
He's hiding his head over there. We caught him with a pistol grip in his hand one time. I'd shoot his ass out.
You put the nozzle out in front of you, your hand's not on the pistol grip anyway. So to me, it serves no purpose. It's tough to put it in the stack of a Minuteman, you know. And I had a whole PowerPoint ready to go for it for lays and pulls. And again, it's what works for your municipality.
Yeah, what you use is right. And right, everybody does it different. And I'm not a huge fan of the pistol grip. We had a couple, and I took them off, plugged them up, the holes up the way they were supposed to be plugged up according to the manufacturer of them. And like I said, with these lower PSI nozzles now, really don't need it.
And it should be out in front of you. Shouldn't be holding it here. Nozzle should be
Nozzle.
out to the point where I can maneuver it.
Correct. So there's that one. Good one. Good thing you were watching that. That's why I put it over there on the TV so I could see, but I can't see it from there. My eyesight shot. But all right. Well, we're gonna wrap up. We are in 2 weeks. We're actually, and I got a call. I don't know what the answer was to my question to Giles, but we're going to talk to some junior firefighters about their thoughts.
Mhm.
Are we doing enough with them, or how do we get more of them? How do we? And I know there's so many distractions out today for young kids. I mean, and not only that, sports. School,
5 days a week. If you want to be in any sport in school now, that's 5 days a week.
Right. Plays and band and
Yeah,
Girl Scout
any
cookies.
activity. I shouldn't say
Girl
sports,
Scout
any
cookies.
activity.
Well, we did that here. It wasn't just me, if that's what you're saying. So even when we did the nozzles, we went out with what we currently had and a different nozzle Elkhart. We flowed, we were flowing water and did different things. And when we come back, we asked the group we had that, cared enough to show up. I mean, that's right.
Folk, I even gave you a shout out tonight.
And I get, he's right about, I shouldn't be making the decision.
And too many times that's what happens. Your administrator is a friend of a fire salesperson. They come out with a new gimmick or toy.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're buying it.
And when I asked about when they were coming around and I was hearing a couple of people were getting them, hey, do you think we should look into these, get them? And, maybe one, maybe two, whatever, but it's not going to be, we're not going to outfit the whole truck with it. Now, they may have sat down and said, we love these things and they're going to work for us and we'll put them on the whole truck. We'll just switch over to those nozzles.
It's got to make a difference. We're not going with it because it's the new and best thing. You know, it's making it more efficient.
Right.
We are more productive at what we're doing. And as Sam said too many times, the answer for why he started on that path was because Sam had asked about why or the membership, whoever uses the equipment, should have the decision to purchase it.
Right. It has to be a discussion between your people. And, you know, we're on this thing now, and I've been around about we're going to switch over to all battery tools. And, you know, of course, one guy likes this thing, one guy likes this name, one guy, but we have them all coming. We have a couple vehicles, and we're going to use them and see what's going to work. And then we're going to, you know,
Ignore them.
always pick Morning Pride. I can't help it. But we're always going to sit here and discuss, you know, do we stick with what we got? Are we changing the manufacturer or whatnot? That was a big decision for us, actually, saying what he's saying there. And frankly, I was scared to switch. You know, of course, we got the sales pitch from we were using Globe and Morning Pride, and this is another matter, but and I was afraid, okay, is Morning Pride going to provide us with the protection that we need because we don't use it, but other people do use it, and then an incident happened over here that it protected him very well.
And again, not selling any products here, but it comes down to do your due diligence and make sure that in the metros or the bigger departments do it best. They have a safety committee or a committee comprised of multiple people, not just administrators, that bring people in for an evaluation, put it in the field, and then try it, just like you're doing with your rescue tools. You got to try them. You got to check the weight, the comfort, because statistics or catalogs, that doesn't do it for you.
Yeah, we're reading until we're blue in the face.
And just like turnout gear, it's all NFPA compliant.
13,000 PSI, this does this, that does that. It weighs 46 pounds, and that doesn't mean anything because this thing could weigh 52 pounds and this could weigh 48, and you might handle it way better, the heavier one, because of the way it's laid out. And I've seen that. We've been starting to touch tools now. And, you know, the next guy over, what is that?
I don't know. I can't tell.
Put the puzzle piece in there, Heater.
This is not showing up on the live.
The next guy over might, well, you know how to build a puzzle. Good job. Jesus.
But yeah, you're on the tool, the field. And it's another one that.
Yeah. Huh?
She's got
my wife and my daughter. Something wrong with the two of them.
Dinner.
Yeah. You got dinner?
Yeah, 8 o'clock I'll be over. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, I'll probably still be here, so there won't be dinner for me.
Again, it comes back to you just talking about the tools. I think it's different tools work for different companies also. You know, just because you decide to go with one manufacturer doesn't mean that that's the manufacturer that everybody should go with. You're going to apply it differently. Your tactics are slightly different. Your accents are a little bit different. But there's no one brand of anything that is good for everybody. And that's what I get that approach all the time is, well, FDNY does it, so I have to do it. Well, I don't know any department out there that can get as many people in the street as FDNY. And so the tactics can't be the same.
Now, okay, so you mentioned that before, the bigger departments do it right. But do you sometimes think that goes to the lowest bidder?
The administrative side, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you have
Absolutely.
administrators that have no clue about what we're doing in the street that, not here, but,
Just
and Shell, I read, you sent me a bunch of stuff on that, and I did pay attention to what
quit
you
picking
said.
on people on Facebook.
Yeah,
Brandon.
bullies.
But yeah, I honestly do. And unfortunately, some of that happens. You know, I say the committee wise is the way to do it. But when it goes up to the admin and they do the purchasing, unfortunately,
Yeah,
the
that's
final say so or who cuts the PO.
And us here, we're the committee and the admin on it. So
See?
it's good, right? I mean, you know, as long as you don't have, you know, and you can't have 30 people doing it. Because you'll just go haywire figuring out. You get 4 or 5 decent people know what they're talking about.
It's like building a fire truck.
Getting there, right.
I can't have 30 members of the department building a fire truck.
No.
Too many ideas.
Well, sometimes you just get somebody builds it and says, here's your fire truck. But where was something? There was something there. Oh, I wanted to mess with him a little bit. No matter what tool we buy, it won't be good enough for matchship.
There was nothing. You could give him $1 million and he'd bitch at you at what kind of bills you gave.
Yeah, this one bill's dirty.
Yeah.
This whole stack.
What am I going to do with these big bills? Can you break it down to ones? That's all I use.
Right, you just can't make them happy.
He needs one of these every day.
So, all right, we chatted long enough. In 2 weeks, we are going to do, what's the date in 2 weeks?
27.
The 27th of March. We're in March. We're going to talk with our junior firefighters and Brian Henry. If you want to make your way up here sometime, or we can put you on remotely also. Actually, we did that one other time, and we have a little better technology than when we started out here. This turned into like a studio here, huh, Shaun?
It is. It's
we got
impressive.
the green screen back there and all that BS, and we can do all kind of different things. And
listen, there's people.
I promised I'd do that. There's a real life hero right there. One you can never live up to his standards.
Name dropping.
Yeah, I mean, you can never be as good as that fella right there.
But again, the episodes here and what you do, I appreciate it. You know, some people may think that it's just rambling on or different things that you bring on, but
and it is. But what do we do in the firehouse? Just ramble on about stuff.
And if it doesn't affect you, click it off.
Yeah,
Turn it off. If tonight's episode, you have some interest in it, click on it. If you want something on here or somebody on here, send it to them. And I think it's great to have a discussion.
Well, right. I mean, and any of you guys that are, see, you give the guy a shout out and he calls you an ass, right in front of everybody. I'm gonna feel one of those feelings. Report out and turn it into Tommy, huh? But
is that Southwest ladder truck he's on?
Yes, it is.
I was going to say,
remember that? You were operating a truck at it.
Absolutely.
Remember you broke my saw?
That's not that. No, I don't remember.
Yeah, oh, shit. A brand new saw broke it. But yeah. All right. But yeah, we can get you from down there. And any kind of expertise like that out of him. Shaun's not going to be on every week. Just forget it, Matty. All right, you gotta let it go. He's almost 70 years old, for Christ's sakes.
I am old. I am old.
But all right, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Shaun, thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it. We've talked about this and finally got you here. And maybe we'll get you again sometime. So,
and don't forget, Pit My Patio this weekend.
Pit My Patio.
That's what keeps the lights on here.
Keeps the something's going out the door. Shipley loves this.
You said Pierce?
Pierce.
You ordering Pierce next? I'll spread the rumors.
You got a Seagrave ladder coming. 75 footer. Fits right in the garage.
Actually, there's one for sale, tandem axle one.
Is there?
Right down 70.
We can't fit a tandem axle unless we build onto the end of the garage. Or now that we've gotten the plans in for the new 2-borough station down the bottom on Main Street.
Lights in.
Yeah,
it's right across.
It might fit right in there. So we'll get to that. So.
Tri-borough. I don't know how Youngwood's going to fit into that, but
yeah, 75 foot. Is that what he's talking about?
Yep.
Or is he throwing something at you that's
he's 75.
Secret to over there?
No, he's 75.
All right. Yeah. Well, and it's a Quint. It's not a truck.
It doesn't know what it is.
No. Okay.
When it pulls on scene, it determines.
All right. We'll see everybody soon. Thanks. See ya.